Ethos of Silence, a veteran podcast aimed to amplify the voices of veterans, creating a safe space for authentic conversations about their experiences, challenges, and triumphs. We seek to break the stigma surrounding mental health and foster a community for support, resilience, and understanding. Through storytelling, expert insights, and candid discussions, we strive to inspire healing, promote awareness, and empower veterans on their journeys. Welcome.
Back to the silence. Today, we're going to have a little talk with the host himself.
The host. I like the sound of that.
Tim, tell us a little bit about your start. How you got started with.
My start, huh?
Yeah, if it starts with family and life, or
Man, does it ever? I don't even know where it started, you know.
Tell me about it.
As a kid, the military was the last thing on my mind. Probably completely like yours. You were completely different than me, man. You were raised in it. My grandpa was a Marine for 22 years, but you really wouldn't be able to tell. You couldn't tell. He didn't like talking about it. You know, all he did was like sitting on the back porch drinking beer.
Sounds pretty good.
I mean, it was a great childhood, man. Riding my bike up around the corner, grab a case of beer, and come back and bring it to the old man and put it in the fridge. And you know, for my trip and my worries on my bike, I'd get a beer myself, and I'd sit on the back porch and just hang out.
Those were the good old days.
Man, when life was simple.
You can actually say those were the good old days.
The simplicity of life, you know, and that's why it would be the good old days for me. No worries. No worries in high school. No worries about anything, you know? I'm saying no worries in high school, and literally my
Grandpa sounded like a good character.
10th grade year, the trailer I was living in burned to the ground.
Okay.
I was in it when the fire started.
Jeez.
And I still feel like that's the best time of my life. I mean, there were no worries in high school whatsoever.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Would you have to find a place to live?
We crashed with my grandparents for a little while. Me and my little brother lived in the pool room together and shot pool every day at my grandpa's house.
That is good times right there.
Man, when life was simple.
Yeah.
No, that was my 11th grade year. The 10th grade year is whenever the Twin Towers were hit.
So that's when you first heard about the Twin Towers?
I was sitting in geometry class with Coach Hobbins. Sitting there and the Twin Towers were hit. So 10th grade year, I found out the Twin Towers were hit, and I'm talking to an Army recruiter at school, right? He's got me sold. The Army is the way to go, right?
Wait, an Army recruiter?
Yeah, an Army recruiter.
Okay, Army.
Yeah, Army recruiter. Military is the way to go, right?
Yeah.
He's got me sold. So, like I told you, Grandpa, you know, at the house, we sitting on the back porch. He tossed me a beer, and I tell him there's an Army recruiter on the way over. So I'm over here, sipping on my beer like it's got a nipple on it, you know. Little kid having a good time sitting on the back porch with Grandpa. And he looks over at me, and he's like, I thought that Army recruiter was supposed to be here, you know. Army recruiter shows up an hour and a half late. About an hour into the Army recruiter's supposed to be here, right? He's an hour late at this point. And it's just because we live out in the country. He got lost looking for the address. You know, this is like 2000, so, I mean, I'm sure they had GPSs and different stuff like that. Maybe he jotted it down wrong or something, you know,
I think so, yeah.
along them lines, you know. But 2002-ish, you know, and he just got lost looking for the house out in the country. Just got lost looking for the house out in the country. Grandpa tells me, hey, if you want to do this right, you might as well join the Marine Corps.
That's what I knew that was good.
That was all it took. That was it. From that point forward, if you want to do something right, you might as well do it in the Marine Corps.
As an Army soldier, I can't exactly deny that. So went to the Marines, huh? The Marines were around the corner too? Was it Grandpa took you there? How'd that visit look like?
Grandpa didn't take me there. I had to track him down myself.
Track down the local office, huh?
Track down the local office.
Went in. So just take me through that.
So they're not at the mall like everybody else. You know, they've got their own little thing off to the side.
They do.
You know, they've got their cheaper shopping center off to the side where they're at, nowhere near the mall. You got to track them down yourselves, you know. So I track them down myself, you know, and I talk to them, and I tell them how excited I am about it. They come give the pitch to my parents, and my parents make me wait till I turn 18 to sign up myself. 4 days after I turned 18. Turned 18 on March 14th. By the 18th, I was down at MEP, signed up to be a Marine.
Wow, that quick.
Yeah. Well, not that quick. I mean, it was almost a year and a half after, the initial everything else. Yeah. But I mean, 4 days after I turned 18.
Yeah, you were.
I got that reminder from him. Hey, yeah, you still want to? Of course I still want to. What do you mean? Yeah. This is what I've been thinking about the whole time, I've got good grades through high school.
He was like, oh, I shouldn't have said that. What I meant to say is, are you ready?
Yeah.
I about lost him. Oh, no. You just discovered that you were already fully locked in, ready to go.
Locked in, ready to go.
So where was MEPS? Was that New Orleans?
Yeah, New Orleans. New Orleans.
They didn't have a big, tall guy there named Lurch anymore, did they?
Not that I know of, man.
No, you wouldn't have missed Lurch. Lurch was 6'7".
That seems like ancient history to me.
Yeah, that was the tales of things. When you go down there and you find, everybody tells you about Lurch, he's going to give you a colon exam, and his fingers are a foot long, and they try to scare the crap out of the kids joining the military.
Yeah.
Anyways.
I still don't understand what that whole everybody bending over and looking at her buttholes is about, but all right.
I don't know what that was. Right, that's that. Bend over. Okay.
I tell you what, that's one crazy doctor down there.
Stuff. There was truly a Lurch.
I tell you what, he loved his job.
If anybody knew the Lurch that was back from the 90s in New Orleans MEP station, please let me know or make a comment, because I distinctly remember Lurch, 6'7" or 7 foot tall, every bit of him. Anyways.
Yeah. So off to the Marine Corps, man.
So Marine Corps boot camp. Where'd you go?
In Paris Island, where Marines are made.
Paris Island, that's in France, right?
South Carolina, baby. South Carolina.
Ooh.
South Carolina, where the sand fleas sit there and eat at you all day long. My only thing is I left in October, so I graduated in January. So I was in Paris Island whenever it was chilly. So the sand fleas weren't that big of a deal. They were still there. They still ate on you.
Cold nights.
Nice cold nights.
You have some water training?
Actually, the ideal time to go through training, if I think about it.
Yeah.
You don't have all the summer heat. You don't have all the other different stuff, As far as cold, it really wasn't that cold.
You could actually breathe some oxygen with the air. Jeez. What was the training like?
Training was intense, man. The Marines, they built you that ideology. I told you a couple days ago when we were sitting down talking, the ideology of a Marine is that I'm wearing this suit of armor and I can slay this damn dragon with this sword, That they got you with this ethos that you can walk through walls and, you're Kirby, you just suck up all the bullets and spit them back. You would have swore that us going out to the rifle range and shooting at them paper targets, we were going to war with them paper targets.
Did you guys have a shark attack?
A shark attack.
After you get off the Army has a shark attack after you guys get off the cattle bus. All the drill sergeants just shark attack all the new recruits. They're yelling at them. They're in their face. Get down, get up, get down, get up. Move, you're moving too fast. Where you from? Are you slow? You stupid?
We have something called the yellow footprints.
Oh, yeah, the yellow footprints.
Yeah.
They treat you a little bit more dignity. Oh, okay.
Oh, than the Army?
There was no shark attack?
No, there's no shark attack. No shark attack. No.
If anybody knows when the shark attack stopped, please let us know. The Army or the Marines. Did the Marines ever have one? Because if this is golden stuff for me.
No, I mean, there's definitely parts of your training where you are yelled at point blank range, and they are definitely spitting in your face and like getting into you. Like that never stops. But the idea of an individual shark attack, no. Yeah, So the recruiter gets on the bus and yells, "Get off my bus and get on the yellow footprints." And the yellow footprints is a formation, right? Mm-hmm. So you start off to where everybody's in a formation, and they can get you in an orderly fashion to get you into the receiving area to start making you get your phone calls and shaving everybody's heads and all the other different stuff, processing and intacking.
Shots.
Yeah. You walk in, I guess it's designed to walk in like the middle of the night after traveling all day and you're all tired. And, you see these kids that have their heads down on the desk and heads up against the wall, and they're holding their heads and blood's coming down from, hitting all the different spots on their heads where people had different stuff on their head that, to where
Your haircut is like 10 seconds.
Yeah. Yep. So if you got moles or anything else on your head, they're coming off.
They're on the floor down there.
Yep. Yep.
Goodness almighty. They don't even
You
wash
walk
them
into
off.
that with them yelling and people doing stuff, and it's intense. I'm not going to tell you that it's not intense, but I mean it's not a shark attack per se. You know, the shark attack comes during they you know what a quarterdeck is? Because we use a lot of naval terminology, right?
Yeah.
So quarterdeck on the ship, right? Is the
Front.
the front of the ship, the main part of the ship, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the front of the squad bay is called your quarterdeck. So here you are standing in front of all the racks. They got everybody all in their racks, and you're all standing in front of your racks, and they're gonna teach you now how they discipline people, right? So what they do is they pull recruits who are in their final stages of training, so they're almost Marines, right? So Marines don't go to boot camp, they go to recruit training. The recruits are trained, and these recruits are about to earn their Eagle Globe and Anchor and become Marines. They finish the Crucible, they're in the very last stages of being recruits, and they get to go and show the new guys what happens, right? So they call these cats in here, and basically, you're getting yelled at on the quarterdeck to do mountain climbers, do push-ups, do this, do that, all the different exercises, right? And the drill instructor's just sitting up there smoke checking them, smoke checking them. And you're sitting here and you're watching this, and you're learning the way that you're supposed to operate through learning what's going on in front of you. Now, they drill you, they get in your face and they yell with uniform inspections and all your other inspections and your rifle inspections and drill, and you've got different hats on different drill instructors. So when I say different hats, they have different billets, so you can only ask your knowledge guy a knowledge question. Don't be asking a knowledge guy to go use the restroom since you want to use the restroom, or he's just going to make you run in circles so you ain't got to pee no more. And you learn how politics work really fast, or either we're going to make you really strong, or you're going to have to be really smart.
Smart or strong is
Yeah.
is the two
And
words
so the nail that sticks out is the one that gets the hammer. That's my favorite Japanese saying. I'm sure you've heard me refer to it before. You know, the nail that sticks out is the one that gets the hammer, right?
Yeah.
So once they give you a nickname,
Yeah.
you're their favorite.
Yeah.
So then they tell you to grab a few friends. Well, they gave me a nickname because I had pink in my hair when I went to boot camp.
Oh,
So I still had pink in my hair after they shaved my head.
gosh. No,
So they called me Pinky,
You did not have a good boot camp.
right? So obviously I'm one of the first ones to end up on the quarterdeck, right? But the best part about being Pinky was they'd tell me, Pinky, grab a few friends and get up here. So I get to choose who else gets smoke check next to me
Oh, by the way,
until they learned some people's names and what they were doing.
that the don't be the nail sticking out. That's the same terminology in the Army that's called don't volunteer for anything. Because when you ask some stupid question and you're out in the middle of nowhere being a dumb shit, you just volunteered yourself for something. Because the drill sergeant's going to get you later. And he remembers you from it. You should just shut up, do what you got to do. Yeah, I definitely remember that. Shoot.
You know what Navy stands for, right?
Nuh-uh.
Never again volunteer yourself.
That's it. so similar. So similar.
Yeah.
Military service. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's starting to sound very reminiscent of
Some recruit training. I mean,
Some
it's
recruit training.
it's the same physical kind of mentality, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then we escalate from there to, they do the basic boot recruit training, the basic basic drilling into you,
Mm-hmm.
Had a little bit of Marine Corps martial arts program, McMap, built into training, running obstacle courses, doing all the same stuff.
Yeah, map.
McMap, Marine Corps martial arts program. It was good. It was good. Builds that ideology in you.
What weapon were you guys trained on? Was it M16?
M16A2.
It was an A2.
An A2.
That's cool.
Iron sights, no ACOG, no nothing.
Okay. I always see the boot camp, from what you see on the movies, the old M1 Garand or something like that. Just
Boy, them weapons look so cool.
Yeah.
I love the way that looks.
Everybody should own one, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, I wish part of your training, part of the stuff is you buy yourself a brand new weapon that you train with, and they teach you the ins and outs of that weapon. And that weapon's yours. You know.
Yeah,
I really wish that was part of what the military stuff was. You know.
Yeah, that'd be pretty great.
Your assumption as a kid is if I was to roll onto this military base, everybody's going to come out of these rooms with a gun ready to shoot me.
Yeah.
You know, and that's nowhere near the actual reality of the case.
Yeah,
that's your weapon. Like, that is your weapon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I like that. Well, you could teach people out in the real world, too, about the responsibilities and how important it is to be attached to this tool.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not a arcade game.
Yeah, and you don't just drop your weapon like whatever you're over there finger fucking.
Yeah. This is real stuff. Yeah, that was the part of, I guess, the coming up part is
yeah.
You get a gun I was younger. I got a gun when I was younger, and it was like, this is not a toy. This is not a thing that goes bang and everybody laughs. Like it, you go get your food with it.
No, well,
one end will do bad stuff to you. The other end's not.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I'm telling you how I grew up in the country, but I mean, the only thing I shot fired at was a 22. I'd never really fired a real gun before boot camp.
Oh, so that was complete shock.
Nah, I wouldn't say shock.
Oh,
but
you were into it then. Anyway, you were already fired up. It didn't matter what they threw at you.
It didn't matter. It didn't matter. I was ready to slay that dragon.
Yeah.
Like I told you before, them paper targets. I thought I was at war with the paper company.
God. Did you do any physical preparation before leaving, or just
no, man? Played a little bit of football in high school, but I mean, come on.
So
where I'm at and the school I went to, the more I did was be a dummy for the practice squad and actually start or do anything else. I mean, I was in decent physical shape.
So boot camp
ran circles with buddies,
but physical. It was intense mental, and it was an intense amount.
It wasn't as intense, like maybe if I didn't play football for 4 years and wasn't so involved in like weightlifting and stuff.
Break off of that.
It was more of a mental than it was ever going to be physical.
Yeah.
But with the fact of the drill instructors getting in your face, it didn't matter how physically fit you were going to mentally break down, and your body was going to physically fail. You can only physically do so many push-ups. And then when they see that you can't do any more push-ups, they're going to tell you to start doing mountain climbers. Mm-hmm. You know? And then there's going to be the smart ass who says, I've got to the top of the mountain, sir. He says, okay, well, now it's time to climb the fuck down.
Yeah.
Because there's always one. Normally me.
You're smart, huh, motherfucker? Yep.
Normally me. I'm normally the one that the loose lip sinks the ships. Yeah. Me talking is going to cause more pain for everyone. I know that's not what that saying means, but, I just kind of rolled with it.
Yeah,
it worked.
I resemble that comment, but I think you're like a 10 and I'm more like a 5.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. No, my boot camp and instructor, I had it. I was the same. Just real quick, I was very much into endurance and basketball and getting the things done. So when he see I wasn't getting broken down as much, he had the inkling to ask me, "Well, what is somebody like you doing in basic training, Gomez? You could be anywhere in the world. This shit ain't bothering you." I said, "No, drill sergeant. I was born to do this. Let's go. Hoo-ah. I got you." And that was my volunteer turned to voluntold time.
Yeah. About like me showing up with pink hair,
The pink hair, yeah, the pink hair.
The one that stands out gets the hammer.
Absolutely, man. So you had quite a bit of intensity, but it was matched with, you had the endurance and the time you spent there. I mean, wasn't a whole lot of laughs or anything. You were taught pretty intense training on what you needed to do outside of the normal plug into society.
Yeah, no. I mean, so Marine Corps training is about 3 months long. The first month is a culture shock. Second month, the culture shock's kind of worn off, and now they're more into the development of you. So when you go through the rifle range and everything else, by the time you get out of the rifle range, you are now so feeling you're now acclimatized to the area you're at. You're now bought into the esprit de corps, the Marine Corps way of life, the everything that's going on. You almost feel like I could do this forever. right? You wake up, you go, you run. Certain days you do your cleaning, certain day you do this, certain day you do this, and it's methodical and it's there. But you've done bought into, I'm a Marine, this is the way it's going to work. I am going to make it. They're going to give me this title, right? And then, right when you're feeling comfortable, you're about to go in the crucible, right? You're about to go through this long 72 hours, all this little sleep, all the miles you hike with all the gear, all the obstacle courses you run, all the intense training of putting everything you've learned together. You know, these McMap exercises to where you're doing all these drills and doing all these tests with little sleep, and you're getting all of these challenges thrown at you. But the best part about boot camp and recruit training is as these challenges are thrown at you, you're not given the ability to fail. Each challenge makes you stronger and builds you up for the next one. And it's not like any of them fail you and break you down, you know? You're crawling through these mud pits under all this barbed wire with all this machine gun noise and everything else going on. And as you do it, dragging ammo cans, you're feeling more and more like a warrior. You're being born into the culture and you're adopting what's going on. And you feel, if you're not aware and astute as some people, you might be a little worn down. But I mean, there's so many checks and balances in place. I can see instructors out in the wood line and everything else clear as day when I'm doing my stuff, because I can see them come up and tap other people on the shoulder while they're sleeping and messing with people, you know. I can see how well they've got everything kind of planned out for us. But you're born into this culture. And as you evolve and become this Marine.
So you said 3 months. Is it 3 month training?
Yes.
So is a Navy have a 3 month, or what are they?
I've got no idea how long the Navy is.
Only know their own stuff. That's right. Usually. Yeah. That's a question we're gonna find out.
Yeah. Don't be taking my crayons out of my box.
Don't be putting them into the same. Yeah. Don't put you in the same category as a Navy. Anyway, I should have never mentioned that while you were talking to a Marine. The Navy curse you like this while you're talking about the Marines. Yeah. So then you get this training. You've completely shedded everything that you know of the kid or the person you were before. You've made it through all of this training one day at a time, constantly exponentially becoming stronger and into this warrior. And then so you get the time to put it to the test after basic training. What's it look like for you?
Well, January 14th, 2005, I get awarded the title of United States Marine. You know, I've earned the title. They put the globe and anchor in your hand. Family's there for the ceremony, you know. My mom, my dad, my brother, my sister, my girlfriend, everybody came up. Everybody saw me graduate. You know, my uncle from Savannah came up. We stayed at my uncle's house the night after that. I think it was like 2 weeks of recruiter's assistance because they were backed up with people being accepted in MCT, which is Marine Combat Training. Everybody goes through Marine Combat Training for a little while before you get, released off to the fleet. Okay. Same spot in North Carolina where all the Marines go through their actual infantry training. So
yeah. Yeah.
So then you learn a little bit of the infantry tactics, a little more of all this other different stuff, and you learn the ins and outs, the how they rotate platoons and all the other different important things. You get a little bit of training on the Marines and how often they love using grenades to clear everything. You get training on the Mark 19 and how the Marine Corps loves to use that, and hey, when there's a hole in the wall,
yeah.
The bad guy don't know you coming through there because they didn't even know the hole was going to be there.
No, I gotta say that Mark 19 is a brutal machine.
Yeah.
The Army loves that one too, very much so.
Yeah, you get to learn how a machine gun squad operates. The very basic infantry tactics that are very important to every Marine, because like they say that every Marine's a rifleman. So everybody's a rifleman first.
So you make it through. You've advanced, and you've got your Eagle Globe and Acre, and you're at your unit. What is it like from there? You've lived all your life in one spot. Now you've moved into Marine Corps military setting, and you're theirs now. So,
dude, it's a culture shock and a half. You know, the military, you do not get to dictate anything. You know, you put in leave and it gets denied. You put in leave and it gets denied. You don't dictate anything. You're theirs. You know.
No, it's nothing automatic.
You're theirs. I mean, I went through 3 months boot camp, 2 weeks at home, about a month at MCT, about 6 months in Pensacola. So I'm at maybe a year in now by the time I head to North Carolina. I waited a little, and I was in Pensacola for so long because a hurricane hit. So I was doing hurricane relief, other stuff like that. I mean, I was a couple hours from home, so why would I be in a rush to go to school and learn anything? So, I mean, I hung around Pensacola as long as I could. I probably could have got out of there sooner, but there's nobody paying attention to you. They just want enough bodies to class up and do this other different stuff, right? So they let me hang around and be a little bird for a while and live off the crumbs over there for a while. Went up to North Carolina, basically did the same thing in North Carolina for a while. I mean, I was in the Marine Corps probably a year and a half before I ever hit my first squadron, right? So squadron, air wing. I hit my first squadron. They sent me to go be PMO. I'm a guard on the gate for the first year. So it's been 2.5 years now since boot camp before I ever make it to a squadron.
Really?
I'm on a 5-year contract because I'm in avionics, so I'm smarter than the average Joe. So, you know, they got me doing electronics on aircrafts, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. 2 years later, you're at your squadron.
2.5 years later.
2.5 years later.
I've got 2.5 years left of my contract, and I'm in my squadron.
And now you're just now getting associated with what that would be like. And so Squadron Life is, I think you said that was on a...
AV-8B Harrier.
A Harrier.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a bomb carrier?
Oh, yeah. It's a VSTOL, vertical takeoff, short takeoff and landing.
Yeah, cool bird. I've seen it. Not up front. I wish I could. That'd be neat. So that's the one you're working on.
Squadron Life sucks, man. Squadron Life is a lot like plant life. There's 24/7 around the clock maintenance going on to make sure these things work.
No, I bet. I have no doubt.
So the day crew's primary operation is launching and recovering aircraft, identifying what's wrong with them, and starting repairs. Night crew's primary thing is nobody's flying at night. We're getting everything ready for the next day for flight operations, right? Mm-hmm. The aircrafts can fly at night. They've got MBGs. Most pilot training happens during the day so they can train on things they need to train on because there's no reason to train on them at night unless you have to, right? So you do the low light hour flying for them to get their hours for all this other different stuff. But, I mean, squadrons never stop. We're always trying to punch holes in the sky because it's magically going to close if you don't fly for some reason. I never understood why.
So your squadron, when you got to your squadron, where are you at?
North Carolina.
You're at North Carolina.
It's still in North Carolina, yeah.
You're on base, you're on Marine Corps base, and you're learning the ins and outs.
Marine Corps Air Station, Cherry Point.
Is it taking in and receiving pilots or the whole...
I'm learning the ins and outs of my job, man. As far as taking in and receiving pilots, the squadron gets rotated in. You got so many senior pilots that know what they are, they're qualified, and they're trying to make sure they get enough flight hours to get all the junior pilots qualified for all the other different things. The Marine Corps Air Wing is pretty unique. The pilots do more than just fly. They have secondary billets within the squadron for maintenance-related things. You know, there's a maintenance. There's a pilot who's over the entire maintenance department. There's a pilot who's over there's an officer over the avionics department, an officer over the ordnance department. Normally they're warrant officers, so they don't fly. But when I first got to Cherry Point, there was a pilot. His nickname was Shocker because his ring finger got ripped off. So he was like this. He was the Shocker, right?
Yeah,
his ring finger got ripped off.
Yeah.
So, but he was the avionics officer, and you had an avionics officer because you messed with the identify friend info codes and all the secure comms and everything else coming and going from the aircraft, right? So something that can send somebody to jail or kill somebody. You had an ordnance officer because bomb go boom, send somebody to jail for letting out the ordnance secrets or, killing people with the bomb.
Yeah, so you guys were
right?
secret clearance, top secret clearance.
Air Force, or not Air Force, but airframes. They had an officer who was over the charge of airframes, seat shop. Every department had an officer that kind of piggybacked over the top of everything and looked over everything and was responsible for that, right? So as the officers kind of grew in their responsibility and their roles in the squadron, they learned a little bit about what each actual department that works on the aircrafts did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Which
was awesome because anytime a pilot had to eject from an aircraft or did something else, or was thankful that these people did their job, he'd come, he'd hang out. We were a tight group. The officers being that involved it's unique.
I can imagine so.
But it's awesome.
Yeah, and you're an elite group of people that are trained. So take me through what is it? What is an avionics
technician do?
So Harrier, what do you have to do to go?
So there's two MOSs of avionics. There's 6332 and a 6312. You basically show up and do the same job, right? A 12 is technically the weapon systems, and a 32 is technically the flight systems, right? Mm-hmm. But an avionics technician is an avionics technician. If it's got a wire going to it, it means I need to know what it does, how it operates, and how to fix it. Even though the bombs have a wire going to it and we have an entire ordnance department, but if the ordnance goes through a checklist and something doesn't work, we then evaluate why it didn't work and fix it, right? Mm-hmm. And then the only reason a Harrier, which is a jet that came out in, I don't know, man, the 80s, right? And here I am, 2000, 2004, I joined the military, went to Iraq in 07, 08, And as far as for this aircraft being in a combat zone, we're talking about something that came off the line in the 80s, flying in a war in 2007.
Right. That's
right.
Kind of like the Warthog.
Now how? Well, funny you say that. The Marine Corps is known for not having any funding. We're the last ones along the line, right? Mm-hmm. So the Lightning Pod is the key to why the aircraft was able to stay functional, right? So it's a targeting pod. So somebody on the ground could laser designate something, and you can pick up that laser designation, and then you can use the GPS coordinates or a laser-guided missile. So you can use an LMAB to hit that spot, or you can use the GPS coordinates from there and put a JDAM on that spot. So the Lightning Pod made that capable, hence making an aircraft from the 80s capable to do war in the generation we're in today.
Right, yeah. Yeah, so that technology is advanced now into these systems. That must be a very stout bird. I mean, just the engines and
no.
Durability.
It's a little bitty.
It's a lawn dart, is it?
When it initially came out in the 80s, they called it the lawn dart. It has one Rolls-Royce engine in it. One engine, one wing. So it could probably fit in the little room we're in right here a little bit. Wow. The cockpit could, and then the wings would probably stick out into your hallway and into your yard. About 3 feet more than what the room is.
So the first check on this plane is if the ejection seat works, and then the last check is if the ejection seat works.
It's definitely a one-seater. I've never taken it for a ride.
Okay, you never got to ride in a Harrier?
Nah, there's a training bird that has two seats. They used to take the Marine of the quarter up
couldn't afford to keep that.
And the Squadron 203 is a training squadron, and they got. The Marine of the quarter kept not being a Marine from 203, so the maintainers at 203 got upset that none of them were able to go up for a ride. And then there's a lot that goes into going up for a ride and all this other different stuff, and now you're wasting, I mean, even if the ride's half an hour, you're wasting half an hour of flight time, considered a waste, especially to the Marine Corps, on the Marine of the quarter, which, congratulations, you were, nominated by your squadron and answered some questions better than the next guy?
So no, guys, they didn't have to sell the plane in order to buy crayons. Okay, we're not taking comments like that. Okay, just leave that alone. So tell me, that's the Squadron Life. That's North Carolina, but your unit deployed.
Yeah.
And you went. Take us through what a day was like, in the theater of operations for the squadron unit.
Okay.
For Harriers and operations.
So I'll take you through my first deployment. All right. First deployment, I come back from PMO. It is, let's see, it was in 07. Probably August of 07, right whenever it started getting way too hot to be out there guarding the gate anyway. August of 07, I come back to the squadron, right? By September 1st of 07, I was advanced partying in Iraq with my unit. I'm talking, I haven't even been to this unit, but for the couple days before they sent me out to go be a gate guard, as soon as I come back, the Marine Corps is like, hey, we're going to go ahead and send you advanced party to Iraq. Right? So here we go. Hey, it's the green weenie all over again, man. They don't even spit on it. They just throw it your way. So here I am, have no idea what my job is. How could I have any idea what my job is? It's been a year since I've been in school to learn my job. And it took a year worth of training for them to teach me my job.
Yeah.
So here I am, getting sewn to the wolves, going to Iraq to live these squadron hours, and squadron hours are 12 on, 12 off, a day shift and a night shift. You don't even know what day it is, except for the fact that them telling you you're loading these codes, so you got to load it on this day. So this is obviously what day it is. Working on aircraft, you use a Julian calendar, so I know how many days away from January it is.
Right, the Julian calendar. So you in theater? What's your first? Where's your first? Where's your squadron at? Are they at Baghdad or the LS Anaconda?
Al-Assad.
Okay.
Al-Assad Air Base.
Okay.
Flying to Kuwait, and from Kuwait flying to Al-Assad, and you're hanging out in Al-Assad the whole time.
For those that don't know where Al-Assad is, can you tell them a location if they're looking at Iraq and about where that's at?
No, I couldn't tell you a location. Al-Assad, man. Al-Assad is Al-Assad. It's the beautiful spot where the Marine Corps has its air base and tries and takes care of everything and tries and fly all of its air support out of. And
your heads were down anyway. It's not like you're mapping the place.
More than that, I'm just trying to make it through, man. Just trying to make it through Al-Assad. Trying to make it through this first deployment. I mean.
So what are the Harriers? So I'm assuming on this deployment it was your guys were assigned to Harriers also.
Yeah, no. I'm an electrician on Harriers. Everywhere I go, everything I do, my jet's right there. It's the workhorse. I'm just providing it the ability to do its job.
Can you work on other jets, or is it just a Harrier?
I've worked on other jets as a tool bitch, basically, helping them out, and that's like whenever I went on my. I forget what MEU it was, but whenever I went out on both my MEUs, I was able to put my hands on the other aircrafts, but it was mostly just checking them out, checking out Hueys and Cobras and 53s, and then the Osprey. The Osprey's pretty cool too, but actually getting my hands on them and messing with them a little bit. I mean, from an electronics wire standpoint, running tests, following a manual, I'm sure I could have followed a manual and worked on them just fine, but...
So take me to a day or a little. Take me to an episode of deployed Al-Assad Harriers are there on missions for support for infantry, Marines, and what's one of the days like? Plane goes out, plane comes in. I'm assuming a lot. It's loaded up with bombs, checked out.
You hit it, man. I mean, plane goes out, plane goes in, plane goes out with no bombs, comes back in with empty loaded, and you're trying to load it back up to go out again. Pilot comes back with a gripe, you fix him the gripe. Whatever it is, you got to do it. Just sitting there, and then we accepted aircrafts from the squadron that we replaced, so they were all really really close to high time. And high time in the air wing just means that it's at the end of its lifespan. Everything is recorded to where an engine has so many flight hours, and then you take it out and put a new one in because you don't want it to fail in flight because it's the one and only engine.
Oh, so you guys were doing that.
So we're doing complete. You pull the wing, you pull the engine, you drop the new engine, you drop the new wing on top, and not new wing. You drop the old wing back on top. You change out the entire engine. Something comes back broken, you troubleshoot why it's broken.
They just think, okay, if there's a war over there for the layperson, and there was planes, and the planes flew around. If they didn't fly, they did fly. But I mean, the in depth is that at some point you were getting an entire engine shipped from someplace, whether y'all, I guess you guys brought it with you, or was brought up through Kuwait or something, shipped from somewhere. The government bought them somewhere, and you're fixing planes as you're going, so the average person's not tuned up to that's happening. They just, oh, there's a plane.
Yeah, no, I mean there's an entire so
the whole
for aircrafts there's an O level, which is organizational level. You work on the actual aircraft at that level, you know. Mm-hmm. So I'll troubleshoot a box now and say I'm troubleshooting a SAW gripe, stability augmentation out to the whole system, right? So basically autopilot. Pretty important, you know, that whenever he presses, hey, look, let me put the jet in autopilot so I can have this conversation or try and target this or do whatever I've got to do. Pretty important that it can do what it's got to do, right? So let's say I troubleshoot it down to the fact that it's the flight controller is what's causing this, right? So I can pull out the box of the flight controller and I can send it off and say, look, the flight controller was causing these gripes, yada, yada, yada. Put the new one in, run the system check. The system checks good, and it shows that it was fixed, right? So now I know that flight controller is what fixed the gripe. Well, there's an entire eye level of people in country that then get that box, figure out what card internal to that box was causing the problem, fix the card, and put it back in our supply system.
How many planes was there in the squadron? Was there like a number?
It depends on what you're doing, and it depends on where you're deployed. When I deployed to Afghanistan, I think we took like 9 or 10. Iraq, we took 9 or 10. On a MU, you'll take 6.
What's that, a MU?
Yeah.
What's that?
Marine Expeditionary Unit. Whenever you go up on an LHA or LHD with the Navy.
Oh, JTF.
JTF.
Joint Task Force.
Yes. Not. Okay. Yeah, but no.
So. Okay. So
Joint Task Force is jumping forward quite a ways.
You're assigned 8 planes, and you guys are responsible because these planes are being called in on combat support unit from the sky, and they have to be ready to go. Was Iraq? Would you say they had to have been ready to go, or was it kind of a less intense thing, or was it always
no they have to be ready to go. Like they're so ready to go that, so like I'm telling you, we're flying these aircraft into the fact that it's time to change an engine. Whenever it's time to change an engine on one aircraft, if the supply system doesn't have something, it's called a canny pick, and we do the same thing anytime we need. That aircraft supplements the supply system. As we know that aircraft has a good flight control computer, I'm pulling it out of that aircraft and putting in the aircraft, and when new parts show up, we're just going to put them all in the aircraft we're putting back together.
You're keeping something in the sky ready to be called on.
We're keeping 9 of the 10 aircraft in the sky at all times.
Yeah,
at all times. That's good. When they come back with a gripe, we are literally there working around the clock trying to figure out what caused it, what's wrong with it, and how do we fix it.
Yeah, that's what you said. 12-hour shifts.
Yeah, around the clock.
So in 2007, the ordnance, and I don't know a whole lot about airplanes. I definitely liked them and idolized them, wanted to fly them. Didn't get to it. Went to the Army. Where are you keeping all your ordnance at this point? Al-Assad is pretty well contained. Is it under any duress right now, or any kind of attack besides the normal stuff, people trying to get in?
Normal stuff, normal people getting in, normal mortar attacks during the day, all this other different stuff.
Normal mortar attack, like normal. See to somebody that says that. So that for the layman, a mortar attack that's going on all the time, but there's ordnance everywhere. How big are these bombs? Some of these bombs, 12,000-pound bombs?
Well, I mean, we're on an air base with everybody else. Everybody else has really big bombs. We might fly 500,000-pound bombs, but I mean, we're talking other aircrafts fly, double that at least.
So they are targeting. They're actively targeting.
Yeah, they're actively trying to hit where we're at, but we're at elevated positions to where there's patrols and different stuff like that. You know, their maximum effective range, so you're trying to keep your ordnance out of their maximum effective range. You're trying to push out what that maximum, you know,
I guess that's
where your barbed wire is,
in.
where everything else is, pushing out that
Cobras, Apache patrols.
Yeah, all that's important.
Yeah, by that time, the patrols were really on.
All that stuff's well stabilized in 07, 08. I mean, I'm talking the initial surge for Iraq, or the resurge, not the initial surge, but the resurge. You know, before Obama took office, the resurge, the Bush trying to push and wipe everything out all at once before that election happened. That's what I'm talking in 07, 08.
Kitty old Bush. Yeah. Oh, sorry. I was thinking about that picture of him playing with an airplane, doing like this. You know, George Bush. So we've got a good time elapse. You know, from start, and you know, obviously the deep.
Well, let's just continue it. Let's jump into it on the next one.
Yeah. I'd like to jump back in more about the warrior mentality of the Marines.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Well,
I have no doubt it's drilled into you, so I'm really interested to hear more about this.
We'll leave off where we're at.
But it's a good introduction. Thank you guys for listening in. We now have a moment of silent prayer for those still struggling with the battle, for our departed comrades, for those missing in action, and for those held as prisoners of war.